from behind. Russell Wilson telegraphs it, and the Chiefs have the first turnover of the night.
I got to come here opening night, and I talked to linebacker coach Brendan Daly. He said Nick Bolton is the heart of this defense. They are so happy to have him back out there, and he shows you why tonight.
Wilson making sure everybody's on the same page here. Working out of the gun. 3 receivers to the left, 2 to the right. Wilson locks into the left. Ball is batted up in the air. Intercepted! Off the deflection! Kansas City comes down with it, and it's Justin Reed who's spun down at the 36. Just when you think the Broncos have something going, it's negated. A 10-yard return, and the Chiefs take over. It'll be Winchester snapping it, Townsend to hold. 60-yard attempt, fans in a frenzy. The snap, the placement, the kick. Butker leans into it. Butker! He's got it from 60 yards away. Butker buries it to give Kansas City a 13-0 lead at the break. Shotgun for Wilson, 1:50 on the clock. Wilson in the pocket, step and throw. He floats it to the right side. It's caught by Pirine. He loses the football and recovered by Kansas City. McDuffie knocked it free, and Willie Gay on the recovery. And that's all she wrote.
Good morning, Kansas City. This is the Border Patrol on Sports Radio 810 WHB. It's a Victory Friday the 13th. You got to play something spooky, Marco. It's Friday the 13th. Jason, Freddie, Michael Myers, Curtis Seabold, all of them out there on the loose. Watch out. You laughing at Marco? It is a Victory Friday. Act like it. Quit your complaining. Are you ready for the weekend? Woo! Have you looking over your shoulder all day long? Listen to that. Ooh. This is a scary, scary song. Oof. That's son of a Michael Myers. You show up standing behind a tree or something like that. It's Friday the 13th. Victory Friday. Chiefs beat the Broncos last night on Thursday Night Football 19-8. 19-8. And if you're thinking, well, that's an odd football score.
It is. I don't give a damn.
It is very odd. It's not scoregami, which means it's never happened before, but it's very, very rare. In NFL history, it has only happened one time. And that one time was on October 12th. October 12th? Oh. 1927. So, there was a 19-8 game on October 12th, 1927, and another 19-8 game last night as the Chiefs beat the Broncos in a defensive struggle. The Chiefs now hold the NFL's longest active winning streak versus one team, being the Broncos 16 consecutive times. And so that's wonderful. Patrick Mahomes is a perfect 12-0 in his career against the Broncos. The longest win streak by a starting quarterback versus a single opponent to start a career since 1950. Last night, Chris Jones with another sack, giving him 5.5 for the season and 70.5 for his career. He now has at least one sack in each of his first 5 games this season. setting a new franchise record for most consecutive games to begin a season with at least one sack. That bests the mark by Derek Thomas in 1996 with 4. And I know that Chris Jones missed the first game, but still, first 5 games for him. And the Chiefs move on to 5-1 after the 19-8 victory over the Denver Broncos. And look, I keep people texting me or tweeting, "Oh, that was an ugly win." A win's a win in the NFL. I don't care. A win's a win, first of all. Because there's a lot of games that have been super surprising or unexpected, and games that a lot of teams wish they could erase and somehow get an ugly win out of it. So whatever you want to call it, first of all, it's a win. Second of all, the Chiefs just beat the Broncos for the 16th consecutive time. A sweet 16. So that's fantastic.
Yes, sir.
And, okay, did the offense look crisp? Did the offense look great? No. Did the Broncos come in here with a terrible defense? Yes. But for long stretches, I felt like I was watching the Chiefs in a glorified exhibition or practice game or scrimmage. I don't know what on earth is going through Andy Reid and Matt Nagy's minds on 3rd and 2 and 3rd and 1 and short yardage situations. I don't know. But whatever it is, I don't like it. And if that's the last time I ever see Kadarius Toney with any type of razzle-dazzle on 3rd and short, I'm good. I'll never long for it. You'll never hear me, years from now, boy, I wish Kadarius Toney could somehow get the ball in his hands on 3rd and 1 or 3rd and 2 to see if he could make some magic. It's not happening. Like, I don't know. I don't know. I have long resigned myself to the idea that just hand the ball to Isaiah Pacheco. Is that perfect? Is that always going to work? No. But I feel like you have a better chance of success with that than whatever this is that they do. It's to the point now where it's like 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2. I almost want to hide my eyes because it's going to be something that's going to be very irritating. If you're going to get ballsy and try a fake field goal, again, if you're just asking me as a man on the street, hey, it's a big 4th down. Who do you want to have the ball in their hands? Noah Gray or Patrick Mahomes? I'm going to go with 15. I don't know. Call me conservative. Call me old-fashioned. So, and I think there's also every chance that, and I was thinking about this as I was being driven home by my car service by the name of Sam, my buddy Sam, who really handles the pressures of driving at Arrowhead very well without any cussing at all. Is there a chance that maybe, what's a good word? I don't want to say vanilla. I don't want to say limited. Something. We could all word search together. Maybe we just didn't see all the bells and whistles of an offensive game plan. And I hate to say this, and I don't think NFL teams think this way, but maybe if there was truth serum being given to the coaching staff, maybe they just did what they had to do to take care of business and get a win last night, knowing they have to play this team again in 2 weeks. I mean, that is a unique situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, what a weird schedule for the Chiefs to have to play the Broncos, then the Chargers, then the Broncos. You don't get that often, right? Where you play the same team twice in 3 weeks. And so, I mean, I don't know. And maybe I'm trying to make excuses, whatever. But the bottom line is this. The offense left a lot to be desired. But in Mahomes threw another interception where as he's throwing the ball, you're like, no, what are you doing? And it's up in the air, and what's happening? And there were a couple of passes like that where I do think that there's some frustration starting to build because, I mean, you can only see so much on TV, but watching from the press box where Nate was, watching from the stands where I was, let me tell you, there's not a whole bunch of wide receivers running open freely for Patrick Mahomes to throw to, except for one, and his name's Travis Kelce. And so, like, Mahomes ain't missing a whole bunch of these guys are not getting open. The struggle at wide receiver is real. Okay? Now, Rashee Rice, again, I thought there's another nice step forward. And if you paid attention to the picks, our DraftKings Sportsbook picks online, and I don't know what you guys picked. What you picked? I picked the Rashee Rice over 29.5, which was, to be honest with you, easy money. That's the kind of money that you want, Marco, the easy money. All right? And Rashee Rice ended up with 4 catches for 72 yards and had a big play that helped put the game away where he was just a shoestring tackle away from breaking a big one. You know, and he just, a couple of times last night, he looks like he's just one move or just one guy away from breaking a big one. You see it. Like when he gets like, ooh, And so I can sit here with a straight face and tell you, man, I think Rashee Rice, by the time we get to the last month of the season, he's going to be a son of a gun. And that's a rookie, and rookies don't always have quick success in Andy Reid's offenses. And so you're starting to see the surface scratched here. And so I'm excited about Rashee Rice. I like what I see. I continue to not be excited by Kadarius Toney when he touches the football. He caught a touchdown, and that's great. I love it. Awesome. But it's just like, I'm not holding my, like when Rashee Rice gets the ball, I go, okay, come on, he's showing me something. I don't enjoy when Kadarius Toney gets the football. To the point where, I don't know, some bearded guy sitting in the stands started shouting for McCole Hardman to run the jet sweep. So, I don't know who it was. He kind of looked like me. I know that's ridiculous, but it's the ammunition that I had at the moment.
All day, you know what I'm saying? Like,
and I can tell you that I'm old enough to remember on some of these gadget plays where McCole Hardman was pretty successful in it.
Yeah.
And like when we had our walk down memory lane, we looked back at the numbers, I think you had a revelation like, oh, there was some production there that I'd like to see now.
Yeah.
Right? And
Yep.
so perhaps the campaign to bring McCole Hardman back shall be led by me. I don't know. But I was yelling for him a couple of times and told to shut up by my wife. Sky Moore, again, where are you? MVS. Justin Watson left the game hurt, but there was a beautiful pass that hit his hands that he could have made a big play. And so, look, receivers continue to be an issue. But Rashee Rice, arrow pointing up, up, up. Travis Kelce, stud, 9 for 124, all you need. I think Pacheco had a good game. But the offense isn't clicking on all cylinders. But let me tell you something. You got choose your own adventure here. You can spend your Victory Friday complaining about the offense, or you can get all choked up and start coughing because your coffee went down the wrong pipe like Nate just did, and say to yourself, the Chiefs might have one of the best defenses in the league. Maybe the Chiefs' defense is just that good because Denver did come in here putting up points. I was told all week long about how much better Russell Wilson is. I kept being told that Russell Wilson was way better by people all around me. Shh. Everyone come in here. Shh. He's not. See what? 13 of 22 for 95 yards and 2 interceptions. All right? And he was flustered, he was rattled, but let me tell you something. A big part of that was a terrific Kansas City Chiefs defense. And I'll be honest with you, that had the feelings of a 1990s defense that I was watching last night from the Kansas City Chiefs. This defense is the real deal. Nick Bolton comes back and has a hell of an interception. And now, oh, by the way, Charles Omenihu, the 6-game suspension is over. And as Jesse Newell said, he was expected, when you looked at the depth chart in training camp, to be maybe the Chiefs' second best, or at least third best pass rusher, and one of their best defensive linemen, and now you're going to add him to this mix? Yes, please. Yes. And so, sure, we'll discuss the offense having its issues, but I also want to discuss how badass that defense looked at every level. The defensive line with Chris Jones and guys like George Karlaftis. The linebackers. I remember big plays from Willie Gay and Drew Tranquil and Nick Bolton. All of them. Leo had one, and then the secondary is magnificent. So choose your own adventure. You can, but I'll tell you what, I feel real comfortable saying the offense is going to get better and is going to be a better product at the end of the season than it is now. But there's a chance the defense gets better too. And that's a problem. That's going to be a problem for the rest of the NFL if these trends continue, because that defense was terrific last night. And I wish they would have had a shutout to really embarrass the Denver Broncos. And at the end of the day, and we'll break, when we come back, we'll listen to what Nate says and what Marco says. Maybe we won't break. At the end of the day, that's called a cover. Because the Broncos were getting 10.5. And by my calculations, the Chiefs won by 11. So let's get a round of applause there for the cover by the Kansas City Chiefs. That's what I'm talking about. It is significant. It's what I'm talking about. Was it the blowout that I was looking for? No. Was it the close game that Nate was calling for? No. I'm not even sure what you classify that as, but I can tell you this. There was never a tick-tock. There was never a second where I thought Denver could win that game because of that slap fighting, pillow case swinging, every pillow fight, hitting each other with the pillows. Offense that they brought to Kansas City. I mean, I don't know how many quarters they would have needed to score 19 points, but it sure as hell wasn't 4. Maybe 6, maybe 7. And that's why I wonder how much of a real game plan we saw, because I felt like just the whole night, Big Brother just had little brother at arm's length, like, oh, look at you. We're going to try this really weird fake field goal. We're going to do some dumb things on third down. We have no respect for you. Oh, you scored a touchdown. Look how cute you are. Now let's put you away. I mean, it just, kept him at arm's length. Was there ever a moment you thought that, Denver might win this game? And maybe I'm just overconfident. There was never a moment.
No.
What's going on over there?
Apparently I got an
What's
alarm
that?
set.
Someone calling you? Hey, Nate, what's going on? What are you doing, Nate? You got a minute to talk?
Apparently I have an alarm set for 6:20 for
Why?
some reason. Don't know.
What's going on at 6:20?
Time to take a break.
Tell the class. And now Marco's on the phone. Look at this guy. You're getting alarms. Marco's taking phone calls, and I'm just trying to tell you that this defense is terrific.
It's a Victory Friday, baby.
Oh, you don't like the defense?
I like the defense a lot. I talked to a lot of guys on the defense yesterday after the game.
I mean you like it.
Why wouldn't I
Because
like
I love it. Who was that on the phone?
I don't know. They just started talking. And
Well, let's hear what they said. Tell me. I want to be privy to your.
I put the phone down.
Let's hear some of the words.
They hung up.
But what did they tell you when they picked it up? I want to be in your shoes for a moment. Hello. What do you say?
Good morning, Sports Radio 810.
Oh, you say good? You give them a good morning?
Well, it is the morning.
Well, that's nice. But I mean, some people
very friendly.
Like Jake would answer the phone. Like, what do you want? He'd be mad that they even Yeah. But you give them a greeting. Good morning, Sports Radio 810.
I want to make sure they know who they're calling. Some people have butt dialed us from their fast food line.
Well, that's so then what? So then you say good morning, and then what? What do you hear? You heard words.
No, I did not. I swear. That's why I put the phone down. It's a waste of time sometimes.
Wow.
You call the phone line, you best come prepared with something to say. Okay? Don't just start flinging out malarkey.
Flinging out malarkey.
Like, I don't know.
I'm just not interested in the bitching and complaining today, I don't like the way they win. I don't like that they're 5-1 and have the best record in the AFC. I don't like watching an elite defense. Well, maybe, just maybe, the Chiefs are just, going to win 13 or 14 games again and go deep in the playoffs again, but it's just a different route, a different way. The way great teams that have long, sustained success do it. You can't do it the same way every year because you don't have the same roster every year. And I hate making the comparisons, but I have to because it's the only thing that's close that I can think of. The Patriots didn't do it the same way every year. They didn't have the same level of offense every year. They didn't have the same level of sometimes the defense had to carry them for stretches. Sometimes they had a great defense. And then they had a guy named Tom Brady, so if there was a close game, then he'd yank the rabbit out of the hat and still beat you. And maybe that's just what we're going to see this year. Maybe that's what it'll be. And guess what? I'm good with it. I thoroughly enjoyed watching that defense last night. I like getting stops on fourth down, big sacks, big tackles, interceptions, all of it. Give me more. I'm not going to turn my nose up at a defense like that. 197 yards is what Denver had. Held under 200 yards only one time in Andy Reid's era. Taylor Swift reference, get it? Boom.
Oh,
Boom
era,
roasted.
yeah.
One time, the Chiefs' defense has held a team to fewer yards than what they held the Broncos to last night. One time. When was it? You smart mouth?
Chiefs versus Broncos sometime in the 90s.
No. Andy Reid did not coach here in the 90s, sir.
Oh, Andy Reid.
So the Andy Reid era with the Chiefs.
You got me all hot and bothered when you mentioned Taylor Swift. I don't know, man.
2013 Jacksonville.
There you go.
I'm loaded with stats
10 years
and
ago.
figures and numbers.
10 years, man.
But the point is, only one time.
One time.
An Andy Reid team, an Andy Reid defense with the Chiefs has held the opposition to fewer yards. 197, bro, for an NFL team. That's terrific for the Chiefs defense and embarrassing for the Broncos offense. They did not. This is the NFL. They like to pass in this league. You know that?
Put up numbers these days.
He didn't have 100 yards.
Had a couple picks, though.
He didn't have 100 yards, though. So there. I've said my piece. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll see what Nate disagrees with. Probably all of it. But feel good. Allow yourself to feel good. All right? Talk that mess. You got a Denver guy, a Denver fan in your office. Let him know. Let him have it. Give him the old what for. All right? We'll take a break. Back after this on Sports Radio 810 WHB. absolutely, man. That's a marriage made in heaven. Nate Bukaty's here. Marco Marquez and Stan Weber joins us in studio. Stan, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing great, Stephen. And I just want the listeners to know who thought maybe you're mad at something that all I've seen you do is laugh and have fun here since I've been here. So you're not mad. You're having a great time. You had a late night.
Yeah.
You're in the stands.
Yeah.
There's only 8 home regular season games. And for you, maybe only 1 where you get to sit in the stands.
Yes.
Because I know how quiet and vanilla and antiseptic. Is that a word?
Sure.
Antiseptic?
Yep.
Yeah. Whatever. When you're sitting up in the press box, you're in a helicopter. And hey, you shouldn't gripe when you're in the media. But just saying, when Steven normally goes to the game and where Nate probably sat last night, next to where Todd Lebo sits, you're very fortunate to be able to do that. You sit near the 50-yard line. You get to watch a Chiefs game. Hey, you don't have to pay for the game. They feed you. I'm not trying to gripe. I'm just saying it's a realistic statement. You're kind of sitting up in a helicopter, looking down, no cheering, no natural crowd noise because it's a quiet workplace. You're boxed in. You have a glass wall in front of you. Comparing that to you sitting in the stands last night, I mean, what a difference. This is your one chance probably this year to get after it. So you should have a lot of energy, and you should not have much sleep.
I had a blast because, and we were kind of talking about this in the commercial break. And look, I love offense. I love Patrick Mahomes. I love seeing this team put up 35 points, 42 points whenever they can. But there is something nostalgic about being at Arrowhead Stadium against the Denver Broncos and screaming and yelling on third down and rooting on a terrific defense.
And expecting it to work.
You can almost picture John Elway motioning to the refs that the crowd needs to quiet down because I can't hear anything.
No one has any idea what you're talking about. You got to be so old to remember. There used to be a rule that the crowd couldn't get too loud. And if the quarterback said, I can't hear, my boys on the line can't hear, the official would say, you need to quiet down, crowd. We're not going to give them a delay game. We're going to let them stand here for a while, which never worked, by the way, but it was a rule.
I mean, look, as I mentioned earlier, only one time has a Chiefs defense with Andy Reid as head coach held a team to fewer total yards. That was against Jacksonville in 2013. 197 total yards for the Denver Broncos. Russell Wilson, who, look, he had played better this year. The Broncos had put up reasonably good numbers offensively. Russell Wilson, 13 of 22, 95 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Just fabulous stuff last night from the Chiefs and their pass rush. They were able to get 4 sacks. They had two interceptions. They caused that fumble. They had big plays from every level. Stan, I mean, they get a Menahue back now. His suspension's over. And so you're adding a quality pass rusher and defensive lineman to what already is a very good defense. I'm super excited about what I saw from this defense and what I've seen overall as a whole.
Amazing. They are really, really good. And they're going to get better because there's going to be different players who are going to be better pass rushers as the year goes along. If the offense does separate and get a lead of double digits, then you know they're going to pass. Steve Spagnuolo can still call them, but the cornerbacks, the safeties, they're just locking these receivers down. They're not open at all. It's tight man-to-man. These quarterbacks have nowhere to throw. The linebackers are incredible. 4 of them now. Chanel, how about that play running through? He's not going to get many looks, but Tranquil.
All 4 made big plays last night.
Tranquil's really good. And Nick Bolton, I thought Nick Bolton was very rusty and not himself, and he still got an interception.
Right.
But he's going to be better because they ran the ball early in the game, even to get his touchdown. They went through Nick Bolton's area, and usually you don't make any yardage, but it's hard when you come back from an injury. It's really hard to play your normal self. So I think Nick Bolton will get back to himself. So overall, a good win. And I know Nate does not like talking about officiating, but it is worth noting that the only reason why Denver didn't get shut out was an awful roughing the passer call.
That is me off.
Well, it's a joke in the NFL. It's one of the big problems in the NFL. The 5-yard penalty for illegal touching or holding on 3rd and 12 is a big problem in the NFL that I don't have to deal with in college. I'm so glad. And roughing the passer is awful.
And see, and Nate
That,
usually does.
he didn't do anything wrong.
Nate usually does a good job with this. I'll be stubborn about something. I'll say, well, you know what? Clearly, there's no way that should have been called, and then you'll give at least the other side of the argument, right?
Good job, Nate.
But you guys tell me, please. What else could Mike Edwards have done? What was he supposed to do?
There's one last thing you could say, because only to answer your question.
Right.
It wasn't a penalty. But the defensive linemen are learning that what you're supposed to do is after you hit him and if you're starting to fall on him, you got to act like you're getting ready to do a push-up. Like put your own hands out to supposedly slow some of your body weight down.
I didn't even think he drove him into the ground, though.
He didn't drive him into the ground. He's not a big guy. Everything was legal. Nothing close to the head or neck area. Nothing close to the knees or below. Not late. On time. No, that was never a penalty. Not in 2023 football. Obviously not in any other time in history as well. So it was an awful call that gave Denver a score. They should have been shut out.
What do you say about that call, sir?
Oh, I think it's ridiculous, but I'm in favor of them erring on the side of ridiculous when it comes to protecting quarterbacks right now because Patrick Mahomes is the Chiefs' quarterback, and everything they want to do to protect him is fine with me.
Do you understand?
So,
do you want to protect him like he wants to be protected? And the Chiefs, the one thing I was not impressed with about the Chiefs, the number one thing is them whining to the officials, wanting calls. Like Pacheco, how many times did he raise his hand up? Like, isn't that a penalty? I mean, come on. And Patrick Mahomes runs through the middle of the field, gets hit. He didn't slide. He gets hit, kinda. Mm-hmm. And he's like, oh, he hit me in the head. He did this, you know. They shouldn't do that. I mean, everyone thinks there's a conspiracy out there in the nation thinking the Chiefs get all the calls. That made you think, what the heck's going on? So there's the only thing, well, you can talk about some things in the offense and receivers, but I don't like the fact that pro players who are protected so much are out there raising their hands up saying, well, wasn't that a late hit on Denver? Wasn't that a late hit? How many times did it happen in a game? At least 3.
Yeah.
Pacheco at least twice. Mahomes once in the middle of the field.
And I tweeted something.
There's just no need for it. They hardly ever hit Mahomes hard. You watch in the NFL, they walk up and kind of shove him down. Sometimes they just kind of stop and he runs by him because they don't want to hit him. Mm-hmm. So he's protected as much as any quarterback in the NFL,
and I'm fine with that.
I
know what you're saying. It's gotten to the point of absurdity, but I would rather Patrick Mahomes play in this level or in this current NFL compared to what Joe Montana had to play with, where they were allowed to body slam him and break his back and knock him out and all these things.
There's got to be a happy medium, though. I mean,
probably
don't call that.
That was just a bad call. But the Chiefs really talk. I just want to brag up the defense. That was a shutout.
Yeah. Oh, the defense played great.
Denver could have played another. What do you think, Steven? 2, 3, 4, 5 quarters. I mean, Russell Wilson.
It'd have taken a while to get to 19 for him.
Oh my! Well, we talk about this on Friday mornings a lot because it's great that the NFL has a Thursday night game, but it's very unfortunate that the teams don't have the spark. They don't play like their normal selves. You turn on the TV at noon on Sunday, and those guys are getting after it. In my opinion, when I watch NFL games, the bad teams, the good teams, there's spark. There's excellence. There's urgency. It is so much fun to watch an NFL game. On Thursday, almost all the words I just said are thrown to the side. I didn't think that in this ball game. I thought it was a better normal football game than we've been seeing on many Thursday nights. But Russell Wilson, oh my. I mean, the dumb mistakes that he made. It's 4th down. It's called a pass play. It's 4th and 3. He's gone backwards. He has no angles to make a first down. And he doesn't even look to throw the ball. You've got to throw the ball up. The first drive of the game was their best drive. How did he not throw it up and hope for an interference, a catch? How many times did he just tuck the football and accept that we're going to give up the ball on 4th down or punt? He can't throw the ball by anybody. One of the key things an NFL player needs to do, it doesn't matter if you're 6'5", they knock the ball down, okay? Because those dudes are tall. They know when to jump. So it's not just the 5'10" quarterbacks that can get the ball knocked down, okay? How does Patrick Mahomes use that sidearm and throw? His football looked like it was a magnet to the Chiefs. I mean, every time he threw the ball with a Chief defender between him and his receiver, he just nailed the Chiefs defender. I mean, it's a skill level that he does not have. That was awful. His decisions, his lack of running ability. And when he did complete a pass, he threw a little dart and hoped for like a 4-yard gain. I mean, a 5-yard gain was a big deal when Russell Wilson was passing. So I credit the Chiefs defense. And I wonder what the heck's going on with him, his head, and everything else. But the Chiefs' defense, Steven, is a strength from start to finish. And how about this? How about the field goal kicker?
Wow.
Wow.
And that 60-yard field goal was good from how much more?
Oh, at least
10?
At least 10. At least.
He drilled that.
Yeah. So
when he kicked,
that was a winning kick. If the Chiefs would have gone in at half without that field goal, you could have made a case that sometimes something could happen to Denver and they win the game. But he guarantees, like, nope, Chiefs aren't going to lose in today when he kicked that field goal.
Timeout, because I'm Sean Payton and I call timeouts for no reason. Will you guys explain this to me?
I asked Patrick Mahomes about it, and
but take me back to when it's going on, right? Because I'm in the stands. You're in the press box. You're watching. You're locked in. So
it's a lot easier to. Let me tell you, you're a lot smarter when you're sitting by your TV just watching a game, relaxed.
Anyone at the time when it happened, did you have any idea what that man, what he was doing? And I'm taking you back to before halftime, when the Broncos had the ball, with 28 seconds left, 3rd and 5, at the Denver 44. Russell Wilson sacked by Chris Jones and George Karlaftis. And so Denver takes their last timeout at 22 seconds left before they punt to the Chiefs and actually help the Chiefs in being able to kick the field goal. I mean, to set up a field goal. What was that timeout? Like, what were you thinking when you saw that?
I was in the press box. They called the timeout, and I'm sitting next to Paige, and I turned around and I said, they just said timeout Denver. They got that wrong, right?
That's got to be a mistake.
They got that wrong, right? And we're looking at like, well, it still says the Chiefs have 3 timeouts, and so and nobody was really saying anything. And I turned around, I went to Sam McDowell and Vi Gregorian, and I was like, the Broncos just called a timeout with 22 seconds left before they're going to punt the ball to the Chiefs, and he's like, I don't. And then I went to Adam Teicher. He's like, I don't get it. And so we're all going, And so I'm like, does anybody think that's as insane as I do? And so then I put it on Twitter, and I asked him, what am I missing here? Why in the world are the Broncos calling a timeout here? And the only thing I got from somebody was, well, it was silly, but the Chiefs were going to call a timeout anyway, right? So then, by the way, they punt the ball, and the idiot goes down and touches the ball, and he illegally touches
the punter.
The ball.
That punt would not work tonight at any high school games. I mean, Denver's doing everything wrong. That punt was what? 15 yards?
Yeah.
And then a guy who doesn't know the rules touches it to give the Chiefs an extra 5.
And
when you can't be the first person to touch the ball if you go out of bounds.
And also,
that's a basic rule for a gunner on a punt team on an NFL team.
You want more time to run off the clock, by the way, because the other team's about to get the ball. So why are you rushing to touch it in the first place? So
none of us could figure it out. Like, why did Denver call timeout?
Do you have it, Marco? So I asked because I went into the locker room to talk to some players, so I wasn't in there for the Andy Reid part, and I got back in and I said, hey, did anybody ask Andy Reid if he was going to use a timeout when the Broncos did? And nobody did. So I was like, well, at least ask Mahomes. Maybe he'll be able to tell us something. This is incredibly generous, in my opinion, of Patrick Mahomes, and this is what he said.
The field goal drive you guys had at the end of the first half, the Broncos called a timeout after their 3rd down. Were you expecting to get the ball back? Like, were you guys going to call a timeout, or did that surprise you?
I mean, there's a couple of thought processes there. I mean, with how windy it was, I think they were trying to say, let's make them field it. We already had one where it kind of got a little shaky there. It was so windy, and so. But at the same time, I don't think we were going to call a timeout. We were kind of satisfied with it, and they called a timeout, wanted us to field it, which we probably would have done that same situation. We got good field position, 2 plays, to the 50, and it seemed like Harrison could have made that thing from the opposite 20. So it was a big-time field goal from Harrison. Got us that another 3 points and then get the ball out of half. So it was definitely a turning point, but, I mean, there's thought processes both ways.
And here's a quote from Peyton when he was asked after the game about it. Peyton said he thought it was 3rd down and he wanted to get another offensive play called. His quote was, "That's a boneheaded mistake by me. They were calling one as well, and I'm off by a down, but that was stupid."
Well, they weren't calling one because Patrick Mahomes said they were ready to just go into the locker room.
Which rarely happens.
and Mahomes was trying to be charitable there. He's like, well, I think they just wanted to make us field the punt because of the wind. We would have done the same thing. No, you wouldn't have. No. And I'm glad that, hey, at least Peyton, owned up to it instead of trying to hide behind something. But what would we be saying about Nathaniel Hackett had he done the same thing? I mean, I was blown away when it happened. The only justification, or not even it's not even a justification, but the only thing you could say is, well, the Chiefs would have called one too. So I wanted to find out. And Mahomes like, no, we would have just taken it to the locker room.
No, but even if the Chiefs would have, you're saving the Chiefs.
Right, make them take
nothing
it.
makes sense.
Right, but the point is, like, they were going to call it good and go into the locker room, and like we're talking about
10-0.
the Broncos. If the game plays out the same way, and I realize it never does, but if the game plays out the same way, the Broncos have the ball back in a one-possession game. Now, maybe that guy doesn't fumble because he's a little more concentrated because it's a one-possession game is the point. That is a massive point in the game. I almost couldn't believe that nobody was making a bigger deal of it. Like Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit didn't even really mention it. They didn't even point out, hey, the Broncos just took a timeout that's giving the Chiefs a chance to score here. In a game, and the only thing I haven't really given a take on the game yet, Stephen, to me, what isn't being said enough is that the offense moved the ball all night long. They had almost 400 yards of offense, the Chiefs. And I'm not trying to defend the offense. There's obviously a lot of room for improvement, and the wide receivers in general have a lot of room to grow. But the Chiefs did move the ball all night, and they got a little tricky with some of their third down conversions and all that stuff, which maybe they shouldn't be doing. Probably they shouldn't be doing. But at the same time, to me, I've been saying this since the start of the season. The Chiefs go do enough to win the game. They knew that whole game that the Broncos were not going to do anything on offense. They were watching the same game we were. Okay, the field goal, like a lot of times you say, well, you're not going to beat Patrick Mahomes kicking field goals. Well, you were going to beat that Broncos team kicking field goals. And so, like, to me, I don't really care that they didn't put up 30 points in this game because they never, as you said earlier, I never felt like the Chiefs were in danger in this game. I did when they scored the touchdown and got the 2-point conversion. I was like, well, it is a one-score game now. But it never felt like the Chiefs were out of control of the game. So I just feel like everybody can calm down a little bit. And the Chiefs are just going to keep doing enough to win football games until they get to the part where they really turn it on, which is December and into the playoffs.
Do you agree, Stan Weber?
Yes, because I don't think when you watch a Chiefs game, you get a full understanding of what the Chiefs are. They will be different in different games, and they will rise to the occasion. So, hey, if you watch the Niners play, they're playing elite football. They are. And if the Chiefs put their performance against Denver out there, when you see San Francisco play any game this year, including the feature game against Dallas, you would say San Francisco is better than the Chiefs right now. That's no problem, but the Chiefs aren't going to play that way if they're getting ready for the Niners. They play to the competition. They play to the emotion. They're going to up their game. Now, it's okay if you say, are you concerned about the wide receivers? There's nothing wrong with that.
Sure.
But we just talked about a Denver Bronco kicker with no pressure at that point in the game that kicked a high school kick at best and made a mistake that gave the Chiefs extra 3 points. We talked about how windy it is, and Harrison Butker just blasted a field goal through that wind like it was no big deal. The punter, Tommy Townsend, they don't need to run down on the punt. He stopped the ball inside the 5 by himself. What the heck is that? It just hits and spins in the grass. The kickers for the Chiefs, probably their special teams coverage units, these guys are playing at a level that's in the top 5 teams in the NFL.
Townsend also had a 62-yard punt that completely flipped the field.
He does it every time because he rarely, usually if the Chiefs do peter out, it's at the 45 going in or the 50 and he's just got to pooch a punt. But when he needs to, he hits a 60-yarder like it's no big deal. Not a 50-yarder. I said 60-yarder like it's no big deal. So the kicking is elite. The defense, Steven, top 5 in the league, right? I mean, down after down, game after game, player by player. Why wouldn't you believe in it? Oh, we don't have the edge rusher that blows the game up. But not very many teams do have an edge rusher that blows the game up. The Chiefs have Chris Jones. He's doing things at the defensive tackle that no one else is doing.
He has 4.5 sacks coming off the edge, by the way.
Exactly. He was a defensive end edge rusher when he made that sack.
And here comes a mini-Hugh.
Exactly. So, and the Chiefs linebackers are
so
the
good.
best in the NFL.
And
the
deep.
secondary, why wouldn't you think the secondary is the best in the NFL? So it's a new Chiefs team. Defense great. The coordinator, Spags, calls it awesomely. The parts that they've gotten through the draft and free agency or whatever, Brett Veach deserves a ton of credit for giving, like a great meal can be made if you bring great food. Well, Steve Spagnuolo is one of the greatest cooks in the world on the defensive side, but he's got a lot of things to work with. Guys who can do different things. Cornerbacks who can guard downfield and rush off the edge and blitz. I mean, who can do that? Well, Chiefs players are drafted because they have that capability. So if your only weakness happens to be your offense, Steven, and you're going to say that's what the other teams have to hope to do to beat the Chiefs, and the Chiefs know it's a long season. You need to peak at the end of the year. You need to have guys make plays in critical situations. And why wouldn't you believe in that and Andy Reid and everything else? So they're sitting in a very good position. Are they as good as the Niners if they face off on Sunday? No. The Niners are the best team in football right now. And the Eagles are more like the Chiefs. But guess what the Eagles and Chiefs are doing? Grinding out and winning and winning and winning. And they know how to do it. And the Chiefs are the best team in the AFC. And the best news, Steven, isn't about what the weaknesses are, if you think the Chiefs have weaknesses like the wide receiver position. It's relative to the other teams in the NFL in 2023. Look what's happening in the AFC. I mean, do you really believe Miami's going to turn it on every week? Well, no, we saw them against Buffalo kind of put a dud in there, right? Miami's a very inconsistent team. Tua is likely to get injured. They have explosive players. One of them is already injured, right? Great running back, superstar speedster. Now he's out on IR. Miami's not a reliable team. You know who is reliable? The ones who have great coaches. Pittsburgh Steelers and the New England Patriots. Well, guess what? They are not a factor this year to knock the Chiefs off. That is a giant break. Baltimore Ravens, very well coached. Did you watch that awful performance that they had finishing the game, Lamar Jackson? He thought it was a playoff game, Steven.
Right.
I mean, he just played awful down the stretch. Refused to run. I mean, what's the most lethal thing he should do to hurt an opponent? Run. Does Patrick Mahomes run and cut the heart out of people? All the time. But Lamar Jackson, that's his calling card. You say, well, he needs to stay healthy, throw from the pocket. At the end of the game, when they're behind in a last-minute drive last week, he stayed in the pocket and made mistakes rather than run. So Baltimore's a team that you had to watch out for. The Tennessee Titans can be feisty. You don't want to play them in the playoffs because they have an attitude. They'll hit you. They'll play good defense. Maybe Henry has a great game against you. Maybe Tannehill has his best game. They're not very good. Buffalo, up and down, man. The Chiefs are better compared to the rest of the AFC than we ever could have thought at this point in the season, right? Didn't you think the AFC was going to be a meat grinder and really hard to be the best? It's not happening. The Chiefs are the best in the AFC, and they're clearing the field even without some elite offense. And boy, do I want to say I would love to have the pressure to say if we're a Super Bowl team to be on Andy Reid and the offensive staff, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Pacheco. Is there a better statement in the whole world that if the Chiefs are going to win a Super Bowl, those guys are going to have to play real well in the playoffs? Don't you love that? Is there any better statement in the world to say those are the guys we got to count on? Because you can count on the defense, the kicking. I mean, the Chiefs are in a great position right now. And the receivers aren't great. I get that. But, Steven, just keep grinding out the victories. Don't ever get tired of winning an NFL game. It's hard to win every NFL game.
16 in a row against the Broncos.
Sweet 16.
I mean, it's an absolutely absurd number. It's an absurd number in the NFL where
because the division games are harder, and I say that. I'm not making fun of anybody. Yeah. I say
16 in a row. 16, almost more wins in a row than Russell Wilson had passing yards last night. It was close.
Man.
Down to the wire.
What I think is funny is when you say Peyton, and I just think of Peyton Manning just cringing when you say that. You should always say Coach Peyton. You should always say Sean Payton, but don't say Peyton and the Broncos because it almost seems like, because isn't Peyton Manning everywhere? I mean, isn't he in every commercial? Yep. Isn't he everywhere? He's on the McAfee show. He says, when you say Peyton, you might, I immediately think Peyton and the Broncos, and he'd be like, no, when I was there, we win every game. So this is Sean Payton.
That was a while ago now.
He ain't walking through that door. We will take a break. Back after this on Sports Radio 810 WHP.